You can't beat the classics.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the show. All right, episode lucky number 13 of You Can't Beat the Classics podcast. George and Mike with me, as usual. George is streaming on Twitch, twitch.tv/Bison Madness. Jorge and Miguel, what's going on?
Nothing. Another day in the life.
another movie to go over.
I thought this idea of like picking an Oscar movie was going to be so much fun because it was a movie I'd never seen and it was an Oscar winner. Yeah.
So I've always had this like outstanding feeling like every time, and I'll give a couple comparisons, but every time I hear, oh, and that won an Oscar, it should be a good movie, I'm freaking wrong. I'm just like, I don't know. I'm not going to say it's a bad movie, but I'm going to say it's not a very entertaining movie.
I'm very prepared to say it was a bad movie. I'm very prepared to say it was a bad movie.
So we're going down here before we dive way too deep into it. My comparison here is like Life of Pi, right? Life of Pi did very well in awards.
Mike, wait, before you do that, hold on. I'll introduce the movie really quick. All right, so we're talking about episode 13. We're talking about Slumdog Millionaire, directed by Danny Boyle. All right, back to you, Mike.
All right. So I'll compare it to Life of Pi, like I already said. So Life of Pi did really well as far as awards go. But for me, it was such like an artsy movie and everything had like double entendres and nothing really meant what it meant. It just wasn't enjoyable for me to watch. It was like a 2.5 hour struggle fest to get to the end because I was already invested into it. And like with this movie, it felt like the same way. Like I was already an hour into it and I was like, oh my gosh, this movie feels like it's going nowhere, but I had to finish it. So that's my comparison.
Yeah, so I don't think I have to ask the question of when was the first time, because I think this was the first time seeing this movie for each of us.
Yeah.
Definitely. You know, I literally have seen nothing from this movie until this point. And like I thought I knew what happens in this movie. Like I thought it was like, and it is kind of what I thought, but it was just put together a lot differently than I expected. I didn't even know this movie was rated R.
Oh, well,
I was surprised by.
Having seen the movie, like there's, it's probably just like the violence piece of it. I don't know. There's literally a murder. Or like the guy who disfigures the children.
The movie was absolute garbage. Let's just call it what it was.
All right.
The movie was terrible.
Yeah, it wasn't very good.
How confused were you for the first 40 minutes of the movie?
Dude, you know what I think the biggest problem of it was? The continuity. It was like literally.
I'd like to stop you right there because they won 8 Oscars for being nominated for 9, and one of them was cinematography.
All right, I'll say
direction.
Yeah, so I don't get that because there were literally parts in the movie, and I'm like, is this older Jamal or is this like a kid Jamal? And this is like some.
I didn't know which one of those two kids was Jamal for 30 minutes.
Oh, that makes you a racist.
No, I couldn't. I
know it's true. It's true. And
no, so there was times where I was like, I had to try to remember which one was Jamal and then which one was Salim.
Yeah.
Well, because they don't really. They don't give you they don't give you a distinguishing. Well, maybe except their personalities. You know, Salim is kind of a dick. Well, Jamal is like the nicer of the two.
Yeah. Hey, Danny Boyle, if you're watching this, by the way, we didn't win an Oscar. You did, but fuck that movie. That movie, you did such good work on other projects like 28 Days Later, and you pumped this out, and you won an Oscar.
Yeah. I think he was a second director though, because there's a second director.
The pictures are him holding the fucking Oscar like this. Yay!
Yeah, I think this is something that he saw as a foreign project and he's put his name on. To be honest, because the Loveline Tandon is probably the actual director.
So we chose this because we wanted to do the Oscar like ambiance of film and see like a movie we hadn't seen.
And we selected it right after the Oscars, right?
Right. So we wanted to see a movie we hadn't seen that had won an Oscar, because that's like the highest award you can get in film is to win an Oscar. This film won 8 Oscars, was nominated for 9. And I'd like to point out that it came out the same year as The Dark Knight, Iron Man, Wanted, Benjamin Button, Frost and Nixon. That's a Ron Howard movie. You know, it's a Chris Nolan movie. Wally's in there. It won 8 of 9.
What did it
fucking
miss on?
Robbery.
What did it miss on?
It lost to sound mixing for The Dark Knight. But don't worry, because it won every other fucking sound award. It won Best Screenplay. Iron Man and Dark Knight weren't even nominated.
Yo,
here's what I'll say.
78 million gross worldwide.
Yeah.
This movie right here is proof that Hollywood is corrupt. There's no reason this movie should have won 8 Oscars. This was not the best movie.
Not 8. Well, here's what I'll say about its Oscar things, all right? So, is this movie Oscar worthy? Yeah, I could see it. Is this movie Oscar worthy in 2008? No. That's where I like put my foot down a little bit, because George is right, because unfortunately you're not going to see, and this is to George's point even further, you're not going to see a superhero movie win an Oscar. Ever.
Which is bullshit.
Yeah, but at the same time, when you look at it, The Dark Knight as a movie, like, it revolutionized what like an action movie, I'll just call it an action movie, could be, right? The way that they filmed it, the way that they directed it, the writing was unreal. Like, they had a protagonist, the antagonist, all of it, right? And then the use of the IMAX cameras was like revolutionary for the time, and it changed how movies are created nowadays, and it did so much for the movie industry as a whole.
And it didn't win Best Cinematography. And you're right, they did. They used special IMAX cameras for that movie. That was like the first real blockbuster IMAX movie.
And I'll tell you, so in 2008, in 2009, when that Blu-ray came out, I was working at Best Buy. And we used that movie to sell TVs because of how amazing it looked compared to everything else that was on the shelves, because they took the time and they cared and they used the cameras.
Film editing went to Slumdog Millionaire.
I totally forgot, because we've been, we're really getting into it here, but
one last thing on the Oscars, and then we can move on.
Okay.
It's so corrupt to push this fucking movie. They used the original sound category, and there were only 3 people nominated in this category. 2 of them were Slumdog Millionaire.
So
no matter what, they were winning an Oscar, and they were going to ram it down everyone's throats, because that's how fucking liberal Hollywood works. They found a decent movie. It really, I think it's dog water because of how overhyped it is. Like, the overhype is terrible.
I don't think this is a bad movie. I was surprised by it. Like, that would be my
I think it was
word
poorly
for it.
Done.
Surprising.
It could have been better. It was poorly done. I didn't give a fuck about any of these people.
I mean, yeah. So my thing about it is, like, is this an accurate depiction of India? Like, is it actually like this? So, like, there's so many things I don't really know, and it's at its heart, it's a foreign film, right? So I don't know. It's just really weird that it's swept up at an American awards show, and it's technically a foreign film.
If this movie came out like the year before, like 2007, I think the Oscar argument could have gone more in their favor. But the fact that this one in 2008 is really, surprise, like really a shocker. Like, and it kind of shows like the way the Academy Awards now kind of gravitates towards.
The Academy
Yeah.
Awards should be voted on by people, not an organization.
Yeah, but it's a private organization, though, just like the Republican and Democratic Party are private organizations.
Yeah, they're privately corrupt out the ass. Chris Nolan's Dark Knight didn't win in 9 categories of acting and directing and sound mixing with Hans Zimmer didn't win
I know.
any of them. They
The
won
scores
Best
in that
Supporting
movie are
Actor,
unbelievable,
and
too.
then they won film or sound mixing. Sound mixing? No, the Dark Knight.
Dark Knight should have at least won cinematography, if nothing else.
The Dark
Yeah.
Knight the Dark Knight, Tropic Thunder, and Iron Man should have cleaned up.
Yeah,
Should've
comedies have a
cleaned
hard
up.
time with Oscars, too, though.
And Benjamin Button. Benjamin Button should have
Benjamin
cleaned up
Button's
because at the
fantastic.
time the graphics were like, whoa, who does this? But like those movies should have cleaned up. And I say that from the standpoint of in 2008, I wasn't a huge movie fan, like going to the movies. I must have saw The Dark Knight 50 times. Like, not even a joke. I think I went once a week for like 3 months. Like, The Dark Knight was so different. And if you didn't live in that time, you won't understand. Going to IMAX wasn't like a big thing back then. Now, like, Strange comes out next week. Everyone's got to see it in IMAX. You know, at the time in 2008, wasn't a big deal.
I had to drive over 2 hours to get to an IMAX.
Jordan's Furniture?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
baby.
You think you see a lot of these movies like in the top 10 like grossing films of 2008 are ones that, I'd say a significant part of the world have seen these movies. Slumdog Millionaire is not in the highest grossing movies of that year. So when that won an Oscar and it got as popular as it was, my thought was, wait, what is this?
Yeah.
You would have thought that. So movies that like you don't hear of, right? Like what was it? The Green Book. Green Book was a really, really good movie with 2 really, really high profile actors who decided to not do a big Hollywood budget film, and they did a really good job of acting with a really good screenplay, right?
Yeah.
It was a really good movie. So when you see indies win like that, it's like, oh, that should be a good movie. The Oscars pushed Slumdog Millionaire. And I thought, I don't know about you guys, I went into this thinking that we were going to get like Who Wants to Be a Millionaire from start to finish, and then occasionally you'd have flashbacks, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought it would end with the Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, but they start immediately. He's on the show. And he's answering questions.
And it was, bro, they started with like, did he win because he knows the stuff? Did he win because he cheated? Did he win by dumb luck? And it's like, okay, so you're setting the premise for like kind of a suspense thriller. And it really was like a Sarah McLachlan, like fucking dead puppy movie.
Dude, best scene in this movie by far is when his brother locks him in the shit house and he has to dump down through it, and then he's just running through a crowd of people.
Oh, that was gross.
That's the best scene in this whole movie.
I've been waiting to talk about that because I thought like as a kid, like if Derek Jeter walked down my neighborhood, but I was stuck in the shit house, would I crawl through the porta potty to go say hi to him? And then would Derek Jeter shake my, or he didn't shake his hand. He
sign an autograph.
That's like low key brilliant or low key disgusting.
Well, and then he gets the autograph, and his brother sells it for him while he's taking a shower to get the shit off of him
for like 50 cents.
Yeah, I don't even know. Because me and Whitney were very curious. Do you know how many rupees it is?
I know where you're going.
260.
So yeah, $260,000 was the grand prize, the 20 million rupees.
Yeah, but like, do you know how much rupees it is to get $1 million US?
That I didn't look at.
37,765,000 something in that range.
Jesus.
So he didn't even become a millionaire, really.
Well, he's a millionaire. He's 20 million, whatever. But like, just don't come to America.
Yeah.
You could afford like a pretty decent house in the middle.
You could get you could get like a condo here. Like that's not even a house, not even a like.
I mean, like that's the state of India, whatever. Like
Yeah.
back to my original comparison though. I compared it to Life of Pi. You know how many Oscars Life of Pi won in 2013?
Yeah.
Was it 9?
4.
4. Oh, okay.
And none of it. So it was visual effects, which the visual effects in that one were just trippy. Cinematography, directing, achievement and direct, and musical written for motion pictures. Music written for motion pictures. So it's like, I don't know. It's just like the artsy movies. I feel like they get shoved way up to the top, even though they're not like the most popular movies. Like I don't know. I just have a hard time with Oscar winners because I feel like it's such a biased,
Yeah.
scale
No.
on how to grade things.
I'll never watch an Oscars again. Never. Did Life of Pi come out the same year that Avatar?
Avatar was 2009.
So, Life of Pi is a 2012 movie that was in the Oscars for 2013.
Well, anyway, I'm gonna throw on because we have to. We're gonna throw on the trailer for Slumdog Millionaire really quick.
I have to relive this.
Sorry, guys.
In a way, that trailer made more sense and had better like flow than the whole movie.
Super deceiving though. It makes it
Yeah.
seem like the whole show revolves around, or the whole movie revolves around Who Wants to Be a Millionaire and this girl.
Yeah,
And
in
really-
actuality, the whole movie is like he only knows the answers to these questions because his life sucks.
Yeah. And like the girl was like a side character in her own life. So like she wasn't even the second most important character. They don't even show Salim really in there.
I know.
No, they don't.
And he's a monstrous character.
Salim
like
is a dick.
Oh my god, dude, he was doing, dude. I'm using.
Salim was the hero, by the way.
I'm using wrestling terms here. The times he turned heel and face. Oh my god,
He had to, though.
Constant back and forth.
He embraced the slumdog life. If you were to take that movie and make it American, that would totally be like a Compton type situation, like an NWA type thing, where like Eazy-E was constantly the Salim, and they're all just trying to make it big. And then you have the shitty TV show host who was their manager. Like it's literally just straight out of Compton, just minus the cool name. And terrible. Straight out of Compton got snubbed too.
I didn't even realize these two were brothers until the mom got killed. Well, that was one thing I was confused with too, because they don't explain that. I'm like, why are all these guys just like if you're Indian and you're watching, like you probably get it, but like others, like I was like, why are these guys attacking these people?
Yeah.
Like what? Like there was parts where I was confused.
There was a lot of parts where like they jammed too much shit in there. The way that this should have flown, because they set it all up about the show, right? Like I didn't even know he was being interrogated by the police. I didn't know that
either.
I thought those were just mobsters who were trying to take his money.
I got that in the very first part when the bigger guy's like interrogating him, and then he goes to put on his uniform, and you can actually see that it's like a uniform. I was like, holy crap, he's either military, police.
Like, dude, this guy cheated on a game show, and they're putting cables on his toes.
Yeah. The wildest thing to me though is like they tried to figure out that he was lying because he fed him the wrong answer, and he went against that judgment and got the question right. That's what triggered the whole interrogation of him. So like the dude was being a dick and trying to get him to fail off the show, and because he knew the guy was going to be a dick to him. And
the not Regis Philbin.
Yeah, the not Regis Philbin that says nah.
Yeah.
Like because he knew that the guy was going to be a dink and try and get him off the show, he chose otherwise, even though he didn't know the answer.
I mean, that shit was so stupid. Like, you had to know when he's like, you're going to be rich and famous, just like me. It's like, okay, so this is clearly a lie, you egocentric prick. This is
exactly.
like,
yeah.
dude, I didn't even know who the highest scoring cricket player of all time was, but I knew it wasn't fucking B. I knew it wasn't B.
Yeah.
That was brilliant. The 50-50 keeps it to B and one other. Oh, done. Got
Yep.
him. That whole movie was a train wreck, and it should have been. It should have been one angle or the other, and they tried to make it Slumdog Millionaire, kids in the slums, has a hard life, and everything he wants keeps getting yanked away from him, yada yada yada. But also, he's a millionaire.
Yeah.
And also, he's in love with a girl who just so happens to be alive. It's like the brother dying was stupid.
It's just
the
a
girl,
pile of cash in the bathtub.
Yeah, but I think that was like symbolic thing, like he's paying his toll or something.
If he left the fucking door unlocked and just popped them all one at a time, like if he left the door unlocked, he could have popped the guard with the fucking pillow. Like
he got the one guy he wanted to get though.
Yeah, but he could have killed him and then walked away. Like it's like you could have got out of there. It just the whole movie was so bad. It wasn't good. And if if the director went one way or the other, I think it could have been really good.
Yeah.
Instead, it was 2 hours of confusing anecdotal shit and like
there was like literally no linear progression.
Well, I felt like every scene I was always questioning something.
What time zone are we in? What time frame are we in?
Like those people get attacked, and his mother dies or whatever. And I'm like, now this weird guy is showing up with bottles of Coca-Cola, and the kids just go. The kids just go with him.
Yeah.
Which had kind of a rapey vibe.
Yeah, nothing's really explained. So I'm left wondering. I'm like, what are these kids doing now?
Yeah. I watched this with my roommate, and I was like, bro, I don't think you needed school or like a healthy society to know that you don't go with that dude.
Yeah, I don't know.
Like, dude, I love like Coca-Cola in a glass bottle, but still,
there's a limit. There's a limit from who I'll take it from.
Yeah.
I don't know. So like during this whole movie too, there's like the constant theme that like Salim is like, Jamal, I'm the elder now because mom is dead. I'm the one who decides, and Jamal like constantly goes against him, But like the whole time, Salim's like, I'm making the decisions, and I saved your life, and this, that, and the other thing, and he always gets him into trouble, and then Jamal always has to bail him out, and then at the end when they're like teenagers, they finally rescue the girl from this pervy guy, and then he kicks Jamal out of the room so he can sleep with her. Knowing the only reason why they went back is because Jamal is deeply in love with her.
Yeah, well, yeah, he's all like, "Oh, I got a gun now. Now leave."
Yeah.
Now go.
Yeah, it's just like the weirdest. Like none of it makes any sense. None of it does.
No.
Literally none of it.
I don't understand how this movie was even nominated for best film. Best film? Best film? Best film. No.
That's what I'm saying. I'm like not in 2008.
No.
It's a decent flick.
Take this thing out of 2008 though, right? And it's still just like a very confusing 2-hour watch.
Well, let's put it in 2007. What would it have gone against for best film? It would have gone against Happy Feet. Oh, that's animated.
I feel like the year before didn't have a lot. I could be wrong on that, but I can't think of too many movies off the top
Departed,
of my head.
The Departed, Babel, Letters from Iwo Jima, Little Miss Sunshine, and The Queen.
I don't think it's weighing against those.
There's also 300, I Am Legend, movies like that.
The Last King of Scotland.
I can't think. Okay, so we went 1 year before. Let's go 1 year after. Let's go to 2010. Let's go to
2009. I don't think it would have done it either.
Film editing. What is best film? Best picture.
Avatar. Avatar came out that year. I don't think it had
Avatar didn't even win. The Hurt Locker did. Blindside, District 9, Inglourious Bastards. Up.
That's a good one. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Bro,
like this movie
it's
in
not.
any year surrounding its release shouldn't have won an Oscar
No,
for at
it's
least for best screenplay.
no, for best picture, best screenplay. Bro, you want to talk about screenplays? It went against he. Name one scene of dialogue where this movie stood out. Can you name one dialogue scene where this movie stood out?
Honestly,
Probably
no,
not. There was
no.
no dialogue that was anywhere near halfway decent. It was all just, what are you
I like
doing?
some of the back and forth that he has with the millionaire host, but like not because it's
Yeah.
good, but because it's stupid. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
he asked the millionaire host if he's nervous. He's like, "Why would I be nervous? I'm not even the one answering the questions." He's like, "Oh yeah, sorry." Like it's just a stupid
Mm.
piece of dialogue, and I'm like, well, like I don't know,
Yeah, I thought
stupid.
maybe the phone call at the end when he phoned a friend and it was her, I thought that was going to be good. Even that was like,
I'm safe. I'm safe.
mm, I
You're
didn't
like, God,
really,
dude.
yeah, I didn't buy it. It was like, oh, like she could have been like the whole I never knew should have been boom. Like he knows the answer because she knows that he knows. And now we as the
Mm.
audience should know that he knows. But it was just like, that's it. That's all you
Yeah.
got. And then you think about, think about the Dark Knight, the interrogation with the Joker and Batman. No one will ever forget that. Like Heath Ledger
Dude,
dressed up as the
the
Joker.
yeah, the opening scene of The Dark Knight alone, with
Yeah,
like all the
Right.
clown masks are, and like they break into the bank and all of them, and he's like, I have to kill the bus driver. He's like, what? And then the bus driver backs in and runs the guy over. Like
Yeah,
all of
yeah.
that stuff is so perfect, and it is so well acted. It's just
what?
unbelievable to me that like this movie where some of the dialogue is just really hard to understand because it's essentially a foreign film. I
I
don't get
had the fucking,
subtitles.
yeah, I had the subtitles up and I was still like, man, this is just terrible.
Well, see, the acting's not. I don't think the acting's that bad in this. But you're right in the fact that like I can't think of like a particular line or like maybe what Mike said. Other than that, I can't think of a scene that I like really like memorable to me.
Nah, and
Yeah.
then
You don't have those in this movie really.
I mean
Now,
when you
if you're here's where I think that like if you're Indian and you're watching this, like I have a friend that's Indian, and like I did like the first episode of this podcast with her, and she told me, or after I had watched it, like how important like this film was for that country,
Yeah,
and
for their
like that,
culture.
and in that respect, like I fully agree. Like this probably changed a lot for their film industry.
But
doesn't mean it's
this is
good though.
not this is not a Southeast Asia award show that it's won. This
Right.
is
That
like
night.
so like it
That's
can
where
Well,
seem
I'm.
like
That's where
everything.
I'm kind of caught in the middle because I'm like it.
I respect that 100%. Like
Yeah.
sure, yeah, it showed like it didn't show very fun times in India. Like people talk about, let's go see the Taj Mahal, and I thought that part was kind of cool, where people would go to the Taj Mahal, and it shows like that person showing you the Taj Mahal lives in shit. Like they're
Yeah.
not living a
Yeah.
good life,
And they're
and
stealing
Yeah.
your shoes to sell them on the street to make
They
money.
sold those shoes. Yeah.
Like
but like
that was pretty
Yeah.
funny.
stuff like that is like good for people to be aware of and stuff. I really do get that.
Yeah. Yeah.
However, to the initial point though, this is the Oscars. This is the
Right.
best film of the year, and this
Right.
is going to go down in history as the most impactful, best overall film. To say that Slumdog Millionaire had the best screenplay is the grossest fucking overhype I've ever heard in my life. Slumdog Millionaire's
Yeah.
banter might have been the most predictable, like horrible written
Dude,
banter of all
so
time.
you want to know how bad
And
this
it
movie
wasn't,
actually is?
to people who haven't seen it, just before Mike takes over, it wasn't in, Indian. It was in English. It was spoken in English, and it wasn't translated out to be shit. It was actual dog shit. It was made to be English, and it was dog shit banter. Go ahead.
So my wife watched this movie when it first came out, and we watched the first half of it together, and she could not finish the movie. So
I
we
can break it
Wow.
up.
Yeah.
we watched the first half of it together, and like in the very first opening scene, she was like, "Oh yeah, I forgot that they went to this Who Wants to Be a Millionaire." Like she watched this movie when it came out, and it was so not memorable that she didn't even remember that this guy won his $1 million on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire.
I get that we're we're a little nerdy, right? Like we like that shit. Iron Man and Dark Knight not even being nominated for Best Picture is the biggest insult, or Best Screenplay, biggest insult ever.
Yeah,
Because
and to go back to my original point, what The Dark Knight did for cinematography and set a standard for what a movie should be is so much more important to the movie industry in the United States
Yeah.
than empowering the Indian movie market with an Oscar win, in my opinion. And that's what I'm
Chris
saying. Like,
Nolan wasn't even nominated for Best Director.
I know, and I think that's the biggest
Yeah.
slap in the face. You know,
Yeah, the fact that Danny Boyle, like, there's like 5 different awards here, like listed award here. It's the Academy Awards being one of them included. Danny Boyle picked them all up.
He won
All of them.
153 awards for this. Slumdog Millionaire won 153 awards. This movie was doo-doo butter. Literally, he was covered in doo-doo butter. This movie was not good. It was, if you're sitting down, you're like, I want a good movie. Let's look at the Oscar winners. This movie was garbage.
Well,
in comparison to Oscar winners.
Yeah, I'm going through like Oscar winners like with another friend of mine. So like this was one eventually I had to cross. Eventually I had to cross up. There's a lot of Oscar winners that are not good movies.
Yep.
Like definitely not deserving. Well,
And-
like I don't think this movie it's not a bad movie, but like it's to the point I think we've been making throughout the entirety of this episode here is that I don't think it's Academy Award worthy like it was built up to be.
But politically, it won a lot. And I'm going to say this again. I don't know if you guys have seen. Have you guys seen Life of Pi? I'm just going to go back to this real quick.
Yeah.
So you guys have seen Life of Pi. They had 81 wins and 135 nominations total. Can you remember a single scene that was impactful from that movie? Like just having seen it however long ago.
I mean, the tiger and him that was kind of impactful because
But,
you never saw stuff like that before, and it opened the door to like The Revenant, and it opened the door to some other things. So I could relate with that a little bit.
Yeah. So like, but the tiger was just the chef. Like that's what I'm saying. So like the tiger represented the chef, and the chef was going around killing everyone and eating them. And the kid had to find a way to separate himself from the chef, and that's like the whole premise of the movie. And like to me,
it was more the graphics. It was more the graphics. But I mean, you can kind of pull the graphics from the tiger and be like, cool, The Revenant, right? Like you can kind of link. It's not the most direct link, but you can kind of link that. You can't link anything to Slumdog Millionaire to fucking anything else.
But I will say, The Revenant has like a flow. It has great acting. It has an amazing story.
Right.
And it's just a really delightful movie to watch, in my opinion. Like I might be wrong, but like that's like one of the few Oscar movies that I'm like, man, Leo deserved that.
Honestly, I wouldn't be harping on the best film nominee thing so hard had the other categories been given a fair shake. There's no realm that the score here should have outweighed any Wall-E, Hans Zimmer's Batman.
Hans Zimmer, man.
The screenplay for Tropic Thunder is one of the best original screenplays of all time. But because Robert Downey Jr. was playing a black man, they were like,
right,
we can't acknowledge this, and it took all of them to put him in supporting actor because it's Robert Downey and he made Iron Man, and they didn't want to put Iron Man in there, so they put fucking Tropic Thunder.
I just don't like things that are done for political reasons, and like as you saw with all the controversy from the Oscars this year, it's literally just a big political mess. And I think that's where I stand with Oscar movies. Like, are the movies good? Probably. For the most part, most of the movies are good.
It's 50-50.
Yeah. but it's so political. Like it doesn't even need to be a good movie. It just needs to portray a certain message, and
Right.
that drives social stuff right now. So like that's gonna be it.
Yeah, Black Panther being nominated for Best Film is case in point. Black Panther wasn't even the best Marvel movie and got nominated for an Oscar.
Yep.
Like Infinity War was
Chadwick
better than
Boseman.
Black Panther. Infinity War and Black Panther came out in the same
Infinity
Oscar season.
Infinity War was like a world event. Like that was like gigantic.
And
the fact that
neither of the two Avengers films that came out, Infinity War and Endgame, got nominated for Best Ensemble Cast. Yep. How fucking disgusting is that?
Which is insane because Infinity War has like all the people.
Oscar winner after Oscar winner.
Yeah. It has all the people.
Yeah.
It was disgusting. Hollywood is so goddamn liberal that it's sickening. Like, and now they're starting to get called out on it, but like,
yeah,
like just because
it happened in this Oscar season, stuff starting to happen. But like the problem is, at the end of the day, it's a private organization, so they don't have to change and they don't have to care about public opinion because it's private.
Oh well, no one's gonna watch the Oscars going forward. Oscars are done.
I don't think so.
Yeah, people are done. You know how low their viewership was?
Yeah, but like there are betting lines in Vegas on the Oscars. Like,
yeah, you're crazy if you take those. Vegas obviously knows who's rigged. Like, this is rigged. This is not. We agree now, right? This is rigged. This is rigged.
Something going on here.
Like, even looking back here, The Dark Knight is one of the greatest movies to this day. And
Titanic.
It couldn't even win. It couldn't even win any of its original categories other than Heath Ledger won as the Joker. Like, and
yeah, but I think that was sympathy.
No, he earned it.
I mean, he earned it, but like, do you think if he hadn't died, he still would have got it?
Yeah,
I don't think so.
Yeah,
I think it was a major.
I think he would have been in the running.
He would have been in the running, but I don't think he would have won.
The runner-up was fucking Downey, and Downey wasn't even close.
Yeah.
Even Downey said he's like, he did a podcast with Joe Rogan where they talked about that. And he's like, you went up against Heath Ledger. He's like, one of the greatest performances of all time I went against. So he wasn't winning. And dude, you think about it too. The Robert Downey Tropic Thunder was great, right? And I've always wondered what they do here, right? Because Robert Downey's Tropic Thunder was great. It was arguably one of the greatest comedic performances we've ever seen, right? We can agree. Maybe not the best, but arguably one of the best. His Iron Man was so fucking good, and he didn't get nominated for Iron Man.
Dude, comic book movies are snake bit because the Oscar panel does not
But Heath Ledger got a Joker nom.
Yeah.
Could you imagine
the Joker in such a different direction? That's the most different Joker I think you'll ever see.
It was the most original. That's for fucking sure.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And then the new, I don't even remember that guy's name.
Bringing it back to this movie, though.
Let's bring it back to the movie, yeah.
This movie was a mess. And I'm going off of the Oscar categories that it won. The score was okay. Right? They used a lot of
regional.
I didn't remember anything besides like that random dance at the end on the train station. I literally don't remember anything like song wise besides that, which I was like,
why did they have an end credit dance scene?
Because
that's an Indian thing, I think.
Yeah, it's a Middle Eastern thing. They do that all the time. Notice how when they did Aladdin at the end, they did the dance and everything. That wasn't because it's Aladdin in a Disney movie. It's because that's Middle Eastern culture. They do the dances and all that. But I totally want to take that scene and dub over with The Greatest Showman and put that in the background.
The Greatest Show.
Because, bro, I watched that, John, and I laughed so hard because I knew you were going to be the one to bring it up. But, like, when you look at, let's just say that, for example's sake, all the categories they won for Oscars, we have score, directing, editing, cinematography, and screenplay. I don't think they did a really good job in any of them, except you can make the argument because of the music, the score. I don't think the screenplay was good. I think the screenplay was choppy and there wasn't any good dialogue. I don't think the editing was superb. I mean, their dialogue boxes when they were speaking their native language was something that you and I could do on a tablet.
None of the acting categories had a nomination.
Nope,
for this film.
I think the only one that maybe deserved one was Kid Jamal. Kid Jamal was
the child acting was good, really good in this.
Yeah. I didn't think any of them were really good actors. But they are good actors because you've seen a few of those faces. Like the inspector was in Jurassic Park. You've seen Jamal and a few other. Like they are good actors. But like this movie wasn't good in that sense. The directing was. When I say directing, I think of directors as people who are like the ringleader, the coach that keeps the movie flowing in the right direction, keeps the scenes together.
Yeah.
Nothing was well done. Nothing was well put together. It was a giant mess, and the cinematography was garbo. If we're gonna be honest, like
this movie jumps back and forth in time so much, it was almost giving me nausea because like I had no idea at what part of the movie I was supposed to be at, and then like by the time you figure out what they're jumping back to and when they're jumping back from, like by the time you figure out, you're like, oh, the movie's done.
Well, you realize that like he's telling this inspector this inspector has all the time in the world to listen to his life story. That's what he was. That's exactly what he was telling.
Yeah,
like,
but it was all in regards to the question, like, how do you know which president is on the $100 bill? And he's like, because I went down to the kid beggars and I was trying to find someone.
The blind kid told me.
Well, that was the kid that they burned his eyes out.
Yeah, that surprised me. I was like, well, when they were blinding those kids' eyes, I literally wrote down, what the fuck is happening right now?
It was insane. Like I don't know if that's a thing or not, but like to actually disable kids so that they get more tips.
That was disturbing.
Or to steal babies and have the little girls carry around babies so that they can earn more money. Like it was just like it was crazy.
Yeah, like, when he was holding that baby and he's like, "Oh, I'll drop her. I was actually like, "Whoa."
As a kid.
Hold on. Yeah.
Yeah. So like there was a lot of stuff going on in this movie. It's just like
not a lot is explained.
Right. And I like
nothing's
movies.
Yeah.
I like movies where they go back and they're like, look at this past part of this person's life to understand where he is now. I like movies like that. This movie was nauseating how quickly it went in and out of reality. It went back and forth so frequently.
Like, and I think it would have been better. Give me $200 million. I have ideas and I can make you a blockbuster film. I'm pretty confident. Give me 15 million. I could do some of these stupid fucking movies like Office Space. I got this. But the whole premise behind the show should have been how you drove this movie. Instead, they tried to drive it by using the show, by using the love interest, by using his childhood, by using, his brother. You chose too many different angles to drive the story forward.
There was actually a part where I was like starting to wonder if the whole Who Wants to Be a Millionaire sequence actually happened, because like the questions were specifically surrounding like his childhood.
Yeah.
Like I'm wondering, I'm like, did this actually happen, or is it just some dream he's having to find this girl that he wants to be with?
When the $20 million question popped up on the screen, I was like, I felt like Leo in fucking that Quentin Tarantino movie. Like,
Leo,
woo, there it is, there it is.
Yeah,
that was so fucking dumb.
So anyway, I think we can agree that this movie was not a banger.
This movie was like maybe good, not great. I think if you watched the trailer and then you went to the movie, you would have been so pissed off.
Yeah, I think I just figured out this movie. This is one of those movies where like you're in high school and your teacher's like, there's this revolutionary movie, you guys need to watch it and then write like a 2-page essay on what you thought about the movie.
Like The Color Purple.
Yeah. So like I feel like it's one of those movies.
Yeah, well,
And I think that's why I hate it.
I think what really made it a surprise for me is just the fact I literally did not know anything about it besides like the millionaire part. So I mean I don't think it's a bad movie. But
I do.
will I watch it again? Likely not.
I
I
watched it twice. I gave it a second chance before I came on here
Yeah.
and
I
ripped
feel
it
like you
apart.
do this. You do this frequently. You always give it a second chance.
If I'm gonna rip a movie apart, I'm gonna make sure I gave it a second chance first.
Yeah.
And they have $7 of my hard-earned money on Amazon now because I rented it twice. And if you're watching this anywhere, don't fucking do it. Just don't do it. Watch the trailer and just say you saw it. Just say you saw it.
You'll get a better idea of what the movie's about if you watch the trailer.
The movie should have been like a huge cultural enlightenment. It really should have been, but it turned out to be absolute dog shit. Like the movie's gross, dude. Like why are we mixing words? The movie's gross. Is it like the music's great? The background to like how terrible being a kid in poverty-driven India is. The enlightenment is great to understand that, but like pick a fucking narrative, bro. Like you have 8 narratives going on. Pick one because this movie sucked. The movie was terrible. I'd rather watch The Gray again than watch this one.
Oh.
And I hated The Gray.
Wow,
that's a statement.
I'd rather watch The Gray again and try and watch it from the lens that we talked about in the last podcast, which by the way you should watch on YouTube or Spotify. The Gray, but the lens through The Gray now, I have a different perspective. Can we agree that there's no different perspective? We all got the perspective of the kid grew up from rags, actual rags, living in shit, and won a game show by chance of his childhood misery. And
by the way, we still haven't figured
at the
out
cost
how
of
you
his
got
brother too. By the way, at the cost of his brother.
Well, this is all to be with the girl he's been chasing after since
they were in rags.
since
And
they
what
were
are they gonna do? They're gonna go live in India, which is like painting from the. I said that poorly, but like painting from the picture of the movie, like living in India would be the last place I'd want to live.
If you had $1 million.
Yeah. Like, if I had $1 million rupees, I'd cash in and move to America, Britain, anywhere but where the fuck I am, because everyone's trying to kill him. It seems like.
Yeah.
There was
which I still have the unanswered question: why did those people go after? Like, I feel like I have to when I have to look something up like that after the fact. I'm like, oh, all right, that's a red flag. I'm like, they should have typed something out like, oh, like on this day something, like it should have felt like an event, like it should, like something should have been written there, some sort of, like, for the viewer to say, hey, all right, this is happening, but like not me going, why did that happen? Why did his mom die? Like, what happened here?
Like I said, they had to pick a narrative. They couldn't. But they won an Oscar, and I'm sitting here in my fucking bedroom doing a podcast.
Yeah.
Like I'm looking it up here. They should have typed this out. There was a bunch of riots in Bombay. And I
didn't even know where they were, by the way, for half the movie. And then they were like, oh, we got to get out of Bombay.
Well, I didn't know if they were in Mumbai and Bombay. They don't really distinguish.
Yeah, they were in both, by the way.
Yeah.
But you never really, like, they just didn't do a good job. Like, for what it's worth, best director. Hello, you couldn't even set the set. You couldn't even set the location. Like,
you should have set, like, in that part, you should have like typed out like December. Like, I'm really reading off here. December 1992. And Bombay, India.
I feel like it's okay to rip this. Like, if we rip this movie apart in 2008, 2009, 2010, people would be like, "Yeah, well, just wait. It's gonna age very well." You know what? I bet you I could go out in the streets and be like, hey, have you seen Slumdog Millionaire to 10 people? And 10 people will probably said no.
That's where the difference is in the point that we've been making throughout this episode. Like, oh, you seen The Dark Knight? Of course I have. Yeah. You seen Slumdog Millionaire? Huh?
Exactly. Like, I bet you kids like 12 to 17 have no idea what that movie is.
That's very possible.
But if you tell him, ask him Dark Knight, you ask him Inglourious Bastards, you ask him Avatar, you ask him even like these movies are terrible. How do you win an Oscar for not even being remembered 10 years later?
That's what I'm saying.
Mm.
Politics.
Yeah,
That's it.
fucking liberals ruining Hollywood. Like it's one thing to be liberal and like have movies that, you know, show your opinions, but to corruptly win based off of that, like that's not what this award show should be
Yeah.
about. And
Not
I'll
true.
never watch the Oscars again. And if anyone ever brings up the point that this won an Oscar, great. You know what else won an Oscar? Slumdog Millionaire. Worst movie ever.
Yeah. True.
And it's only I'm only so angry at it because it wasn't a great movie and it won an Oscar. It won 8 Oscars,
Mm.
which is
Yeah.
bullshit. Because
Which
The
is
Dark
insane,
Knight, Iron Man, Wanted got robbed of fucking sound editing.
Oh, true. Yeah.
And it rigged a category because it had 2 of the 3 nominations in a category. What fucking category only has 3 nominations? And how do you have 2 original songs in one fucking movie? I'll rest my case here. The Dark Knight is a 9 on IMDb and Slumdog's an 8. The people. William Knife Man.
The Dark Knight forever.
The fact that The Dark Knight didn't win doesn't just bother me.
That's criminal. I'll say it right now. That's like, cruel.
It's the fact that it wasn't nominated.
Can you name? We'll just do this one.
That's
too.
Why.
Can you name a scene that the cinematography was so outstanding in Slumdog Millionaire? Because again, going back to The Dark Knight, the scene at the end with the panning back and forth to all the characters and the coin toss, and then him jumping off and saving, you know, the kid, like that scene alone, or even the underpass fight scene with the cars.
I think of like the Hong Kong sequence.
Yeah,
when he's cabled to the plane.
Unreal.
Like, I'm like, that's cool.
Cinematography, hello?
I think the only scene that actually had like good cinematography was the scene when Jamal and the game show host are talking in the bathroom. That was like the only best A to B conversation that was the only good one in the whole movie. And it sets up like a pivotal point in the movie. You know, so like that part was that 2.5 minute section of dialogue was the only part in this movie that was even worth it.
I mean, the game show host had the best acting in the entire movie when he was trying to convince him to go from D to B.
Yeah, I know, right?
That was the best acting in the entire fucking movie.
Host, not the Australian great cricketer.
Yeah, that was the best. Like, honestly, if you haven't seen this movie, you're missing nothing. You're missing nothing. There's nothing that you have to worry about because this movie gives you nothing. If you have 2 hours to kill and $5 burning a hole in your wallet, there you go.
Go bowling.
Yeah, go bowling. Go rent The Dark Knight. I just like this movie.
None of the actors really paid off like too much afterwards. Like the main actor, like Dev Patel. You know what his next movie was? The Last Airbender.
Yeah.
I think the one that did the most is probably Irfan Khan, the inspector, because he eventually went on to do Jurassic World. Which is cool.
He, like I said, he also did Life of Pi, which is another Oscar movie.
He did that too, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, none of the. I mean, the girl did Immortals, Planet of the Apes.
That's true. Oh, I forgot. Yeah, she wasn't Rise of the Planet of the Apes.
Yeah. She did all right. She's done some decent movies.
She might have done maybe the best out of everybody.
Yeah, she did all right. She does a good movie every 2 or 3 years.
She's very selective because of Slumdog Millionaire. She has the right to be selective.
I just thought that movie was fucking buns. On to the next, bro. Get me out of that fucking movie. That movie was terrible.
On to the next.
Fuck Oscars. Anyone who ever brings up Oscars to me ever again, I'm just gonna be like, Slumdog Millionaire won 8 of 9.
So if the next episode happens to be an Oscar winner, we're gonna tread super lightly.
Or super deep. Like, there's only
Yeah.
two ways.
Yeah, we'll see.
All
We'll
right.
see what we end up with the next episode. But yeah, all right. So we'll close it off here. Start to close it off here. All right. So on the scale of 1 to 10, 1 being the porta potty dive, and then 10 being winning the 20 million rupees. What would you give Slumdog Millionaire?
I mean, I'd give it a 2. A solid
Dude, that's all right. You guys are
1.9.
tough crowd, guys.
Yeah. And only because like there were some parts like where the kid jumped in the poop and still got the autograph. Man, I was laughing. And then the other parts, I was laughing. I was laughing because like the dialogue was either so bad or I just didn't know what the hell was going on. I was laughing, like, and I didn't really see this as a dramatic movie. I saw it as a comedy. Really,
That movie's a hard 3. Hard 3.
Oof.
Maybe 4.
I'm gonna say 7.
Ugh.
I didn't think it was that bad.
I despise this movie.
Based on the areas we talked about before, the screenplay was terrible, right? We agreed the screenplay was buns.
Yeah.
We agreed that the cinematography was nothing special, if it was good at all. The acting, was there any? The direction was all over the place. I honestly have a hard time outside of the cultural effects of India and poverty. I don't. This movie is forgettable.
Yep, I agree on every point.
Yeah, I saw it as a decent movie, but not in the Oscar sense. That was highway robbery.
No,
there.
yeah,
That was
yeah.
yeah. That I agree on.
That
And,
was, hey, India made a decent movie. Let's throw them a bone. And
Yeah.
it was arguably one of the biggest years for superhero films of all time.
This 2008 had 2 superhero movies that kickstarted a lot.
Like the whole Christopher Nolan Batman franchise, all of the Marvel stuff, really.
That started the MCU started that year.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Essentially.
honestly, those 2 movies are top 10 all-time comic book films, and I would argue they're top 50 all-time films.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
I think the Dark Knight is probably a top 25 all-time film.
I agree.
Yeah, no, that's definitely up there. But
it makes me feel a little better that Avatar lost, though, too.
I don't think Avatar's a good movie.
I love Avatar.
I think when Avatar came out, it was nice, but it wasn't perfect. Like everyone still hypes today. Like James Cameron's on the fucking Avatar's the greatest, bro.
Yeah,
I really enjoy Avatar as a movie, but I can understand why it wouldn't win an Oscar. There's a lot to it.
Yeah.
It just makes me feel a little better knowing how prejudiced the goddamn Screen Actors Guild is.
While you guys are talking, I'm getting the wheel ready for the next year. I'm gonna shorten the years on this one. I'm gonna go 1991.
Yeah.
I feel like diving into the 80s, we're kind of like eh.
Yeah, a lot of that stuff is before our time too. So
the 80s were hit or miss.
I feel like diving into the 90s is all right. So the wheel's gonna look a little smaller this time around.
Unless, of course, it's The Running Man.
Labyrinth.
All right, so now we're gonna spin that wheel, see what year we end up with for the next episode.
994.
Oh, you're close, George. Oh, 95.
All
right, let's do it. So next episode, You Can't Beat the Classics will be a movie from the year 1995. I'll end it there. See you guys next episode.
Bye.
Bye.